It is week 6. Jets head coach Robert Saleh getting off the bus in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And there is the Jets starting signal caller, Zach Wilson, of course. We're looking at a live shot of historic Lambeau Field. The Jets and the Packers meet today in Green Bay. Tremendous camera work there by our own Frank Lazar. We got our crew on the ground in Green Bay, including Caroline Hendershot and Ethan Greenberg, of course. Welcome to Pregame Central, presented by Bud Light. I'm Eric Allen in the studio with Quincy Anunwa. And we're going to bring in Anthony Becht in a moment. And like I said, we'll also check in with Caroline and Ethan. But how about the stakes today? The Packers are 3-2. The Jets are 3-2. For the first time since 2010, Q, the Jets can have 3-game winning streaks overall and on the road concurrently.
Yeah, this is a great opportunity for the Jets. I think if they can get this win out, it'll really show that they're legit. You know, I think this whole season they've played two really legit quarterbacks in Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson. So if they can come in and get a win against Aaron Rodgers, I think that'll be a great confidence booster for this team.
All right, we say good morning to Anthony Becht. AB, how are you doing? I wanted to ask you, first off, Robert Saleh told his team last week after the win against the Miami Dolphins, the 40-17 takedown, in which they exploded in the fourth quarter, that, hey, listen, we haven't done anything yet. I want you guys to embrace this as the new normal.
I think he's got a great point. Even though they're 3-2 at this point, I still haven't seen a four-quarter game by this football team, which is exciting to think about the fact that if they put together 4 quarters, how they could be this season. So you're right, going on the road today, coming off a win, Packers coming off a loss. Everybody knows their record, coming off a loss, back at home again. I don't think Aaron Rodgers has ever lost. So this is a supreme challenge. But I will say this, guys, this is not the same Packers team of old. Okay, Aaron Rodgers, yes, he's there, but there's a lot of different faces around him, not the explosive receivers we've seen in the past. And quite frankly, an offense right now that's still trying to find its stride so far in this season.
Fans, here is your chance to participate in Pregame Central presented by Bud Light. The Jets have an NFL high 4 players with 200 receiving yards. That number will move to 5 today with tight end Tyler Conklin. He needs just 8 yards. Vote now. All in or not today. Of course, that's one of our favorite segments here on Pregame Central presented by Bud Light. There's Tyler Conklin. Good offensive balance for the Jets so far this season, Quincy, as we get out of the tunnel here.
Definitely. You see these guys, they're doing a great job with the run game and the pass game. Zach Wilson's coming in now feeling confident, and I think confidence is one of the things that I'm going to continue to harp on, because as a football player, as an NFL player, if you have the highest level of confidence in your ability, you can really do anything you want to do.
Anthony, we're starting with you out of the tunnel. Robert Saleh and Matt LaFleur, of course, they go a long way back. GAs at Central Michigan, of course, best friends. How about the matchup today between these two? First time as head coaches in regular season play. I thought this week what we heard from these guys, old hat by now because they've seen each other so much on the sidelines.
Yeah, I think you're right. You know, these coaches, they know a lot of tendencies because they've talked so many different situations and scenarios over the years. But it does work both ways, right? It's not just what we know about them. It's what they know about us as well. So, you look at this game, I think it's been pretty close to the vest with a lot of these coaches. No one really probably wants to, say too much about the week because of those relationships. And I think that's what it's really all about. But I think both teams ultimately have to go out there and perform. Whether a coach has a tendency or a coach believes in another coach's tendencies or what they like to do really doesn't matter unless your players go out there and execute. And that'll be the biggest challenges for the Jets. The Packers have shown that they can do that. 13 wins the last couple of years. They've gotten where they've gotten. They can respond. But again, different team for them. Jets are still trying to figure out, are we a team that can win 2, 3, 4 games in a row? Can we continue the surge? Are we as good as we think we are with the talent and the youth around us? And quite frankly, right now, with Zach Wilson being 2-0 to start his season, they're off to a great start. Hopefully that continues to trend in this football game.
Garrett Wilson's got a big smile on his face at historic Lambeau Field right now. This is A fascinating dynamic for the LaFleur family today. Of course, Matt's younger brother, the Jets offensive coordinator, Mike LaFleur. Mike was trying to play it down this week, but between siblings, this one's got to be special.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I can only imagine playing against your sibling, playing against your brother. I think it's a dope opportunity that Quentin and Quincy had. So to play against your brother, that rivalry, that brings out the utmost competition level that you've been doing since you were small, knee-high. So to be able to do it at a professional level, I know they're going to be competing at a high level.
Before we shift to you, AB, Quincy, I wanted to ask you about the quarterbacks in this matchup. Aaron Rodgers, Zach Wilson, of course.
Yeah, I think, it's going to be a great battle. You see Zach Wilson looked up to Aaron Rodgers for the longest time, so now he gets an opportunity to play against one of his idols. I know this isn't going to be a small game for him. He's going to really be wanting to put on a show. Then you look at Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers doesn't have the same weapons that he's had for so long, but he's still been able to put up numbers. So I think it's going to be important for this team, the Jets, to make sure that they are putting pressure on this guy and making sure that he's not the Aaron Rodgers of old, and really kind of locking down the receivers that he has right now.
Finally, AB, what about the Jets? Fourth quarter magic. They lead the National Football League with 58 points in the final 15 minutes, of course, and also paced the NFL with a plus 38 scoring differential.
Yeah, well, when you play the game of football, it really comes down to three real key pieces. You talked about the fourth quarter, obviously, winning the fourth quarter, having a championship fourth quarter, the situations that come up throughout the game, third downs, fourth downs, and, of course, how you start the game, setting the tempo, putting those things together. Listen, you want to go into the fourth quarter because you're up and you want to close the doors, you want to hold the ball, keep the time of possession, and run the clock out and win the football game and finish the deal. But sometimes on the alternate side, you have to come back and win. That's some of the things the Jets have done. You've seen a quarterback in Zach Wilson in Pittsburgh, calm, cool, collective in his first game back, have the kind of fourth quarter that, quite frankly, a lot of the elite quarterbacks do, and not every week for those guys either. So those are confidence builders for players. Those are confidence builders for the organization, and in particular the quarterback who is looking to, again, like Quincy said, he's going against his childhood idol. This is an angry Aaron Rodgers. This is a frustrated Aaron Rodgers. This is not a mild-tempered guy. You're going to watch him in the game, watch his body language. There's going to be times when he's like, what's going on? Why doesn't it look like the way it's always been? That's a good thing for the Jets if you're watching this game. And for Zach, he's got a plethora of weapons. He's got more people around him. He feels better about the situation. He's got a better understanding of the system in this season. So that all of those things work in his favor. He just has to continue to go out there, play smart, do not turn the ball over, and you will be in that fourth quarter like you talked about every single week in this league.
It's time for our game day storylines presented by Bud Light. Let's get out to Green Bay right now and bring in Caroline Hendershot and Ethan Greenberg. AB was just talking about calm and cool. Are you guys cold this morning?
I'm a little chilly, but it's not too bad.
Yeah, the extremities are a little cold, like the fingers, but it is not as cold as you might think. But also, it's October, so
right.
I'd hope it wouldn't be too cold.
Right.
Good stuff. Okay, guys, when you look at this matchup, what's jumping out?
I think the biggest thing that's jumping out for me is defensive end Carl Lawson. This is his first time back at Lambeau since his Achilles rupture last season at training camp against the Packers. So it's a really big full circle moment for him today.
Yeah, it's kind of a double-edged sword Lambeau Field is for Carl Lawson, because on one end, you just talked about it, he ruptured his Achilles in a joint practice. He wasn't able to play in the preseason game or at all in his first season with the Jets. On the other side, though, on this field behind us, Carl Lawson got his first career sack against Aaron Rodgers. He had 2.5 in 2017 on this field, and so that's the positive. And Carl Lawson, talking to the media this week, said he's really looking forward to lining up against Packers Pro Bowl left tackle David Bakhtiari. He was not able to do that in last year's training camp because Bakhtiari was also injured, and then in 2017, Bakhtiari didn't play. So this is a good battle between those two guys. Also really cool to see two guys very good at their positions who were hurt last year now have the chance to finally line up against against each other.
He also added, when speaking to the media, that he doesn't have any of those added emotions that you might think he would have, so he's not letting this moment get too big for him.
And the Jets are definitely going to need Carl Lawson today against Aaron Rodgers, who likes to get the ball out quick.
Jets the only team in the National Football League with 38 quarterback hits, 12 sacks, and 7 interceptions. Speaking of historic Lambeau Field, the Jets, they got a number of players on that roster who played there and actually tasted success.
Yeah, one of those being left guard Laken Tomlinson. He was just here in January with the San Francisco 49ers when they beat them at Lambeau to advance to the NFC Championship. And when I talked to him, he said this field is very historic in and of itself. It's very special, but he's very familiar with the defensive front. But he likes the way the Jets are running the ball, so he thinks there could be success there. But at the end of the day, he just wants to go 2-0 at Lambeau this year.
Let's shout out John Polano real quick. He wrote about this on NewYorkJets.com, just different players playing at such a historic site like you just talked about, EA. Not only that, an interesting note, though, because this is a grass field, the Green Bay Packers heat it underneath it, so that could lead to a little bit of a slippery condition. And today, just watching warm-ups, we have seen a couple players slip in and out of breaks, something to keep an eye on. And one more thing, I don't know if you just heard that, there are multiple Jets chants going in the crowd already a couple hours before kickoff.
Great stuff. We're going to check in with you guys here in a couple moments. Lock in your seats for Sunday, October 30th at 1 p.m. for a divisional matchup when the New York Jets host the New England Patriots. That game is presented by New Jersey Lottery. Get your tickets at nyjets.com/tickets. We're watching Breece Hall, the impressive Jets rookie running back who leads the National Football League. All running backs with 6.7 yards a touch. Fascinating matchup because on the other side of the ball, Aaron Jones is right behind him. The Green Bay Packers talented back himself, 6.5 yards a carry. All right, let's bring back Anthony Beck right now, and let's jump into our Sunday spotlight. Anthony, where are you going?
Yeah, this one to me is going to start with the defensive coordinator, Jeff Ulbrich, versus Aaron Rodgers. This is going to be a complete defensive effort today to shut down Aaron Rodgers. The skill set that he brings to the table, his ability to extend plays, be athletic within that 5-by-5 yard box in the pocket is scary. It's scary. You watch every film that he's a game this year on film. He's dangerous, and he's moving around quite a bit, making throws, no looks across the middle. That's tough on a secondary, a second level, your defense and your defensive front to really contain him in the pocket. So that's going to be the chess match today, trying to get your guys in the right spot and to play maybe a half a second longer to make sure that they can really take advantage of these extended plays that Aaron Rodgers likes to have.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is going to be throwing through those tight windows. The Jets are going to have some opportunities to make some plays, but the guy is so clever and crafty. Got to watch his cadence as well today. Quincy, what do you think about the Jets' young receiving group going against the NFL's number 2 ranked secondary?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great matchup. I think I would like to say that the Packers' numbers are a little bit inflated. They haven't really played a number 1 receiver since the first week, and that guy gave them 184 yards, 9 catches. So now we're going to see, what can the Packers do against the Jets' talented receiving core? When you think about when they played the Bucs, they had Mike Evans was suspended. Julio Jones was hurt. So like I said, they're going to be really tested this week. I want to see what these young guys can do up against this Packers' talented secondary.
I'm going right back to the rookie running back, Breece Hall, and, of course, Aaron Jones. I mentioned their stats before. How about this with Hall? Not only is he leading the NFL in yards per touch from running backs with 6.7 yards per touch, but him and Saquon Barkley are the youngest players since at least 1950 that had 250-plus rushing yards and 200-plus receiving yards over their first career 5 games. That's unbelievable. Of course, last week in the win against the Miami Dolphins, Breece Hall at 100 yards receiving, 97 yards rushing, nearly eclipsing 200 total yards. The Jets are on Fox today against the Packers. Earlier this week, Ethan Greenberg caught up with one of sports' great storytellers, Tom Rinaldi.
It's very interesting for both teams because the Packers coming off a loss, the Jets coming off 2 straight victories. When you look at this game, where do your eyes go exactly?
Oh, well, listen, everything starts with 12 on their side, right? And the fact is, the Jets, yes, no one's going to turn back or go to the return counter with 3-2. All of Jets Nation is thrilled. Mm-hmm. But when you look at the quarterback quality that the Jets have faced on the defensive side, it has not been, let's say, prime or premium. It is now. And so a big question is how the defense measures up against Rodgers. That's one. Number two, how does a team really for the first time, this group, handle prosperity? That's harder, I think, than people recognize. And I think you saw that right away, Ethan, right in the messaging that came from Saleh, that came from Zach Wilson. We need to expect to win these games. Well, does that mean you expect to go into Lambeau and win this game? Because the Packers have shown some vulnerability versus what they were projected to be. I think it's a fascinating matchup.
And the Packers' numbers are daunting at home. When you take a look at them, Matt LaFleur is 10-0 at Lambeau in games after a loss. That is the case this week for the Jets going to Green Bay to take on the Packers. Tom, we'll leave you with this. Your Sunday spotlight, the guys just talked about theirs. If it could be a player, it could be a topic, where do you go for your Sunday spotlight?
My Sunday spotlight is a person, and that person is my brother. My brother, Robert Rinaldi, who has been a season ticket holder at the age of 18. All right, my brother has now passed the 60-year mark. Okay, so he has been a season ticket holder for 40+ years, and he will be at Lambeau.
Wow.
To enjoy this game. He was at Cleveland to see the improbability of that victory. So that's my spotlight. My spotlight is on my brother, at least the most dedicated, greatest Jets fan that I happen to know.
And
is that fair?
I think it's completely fair. It is incredible. We cannot top that, and that is how we go back to the studio.
Good interview. Remember, Jets, Packers today. That's on Fox, 1 p.m. Speaking of Tom Rinaldi, he had a one-on-one with Zach Wilson this week that you'll be able to watch in full on Fox's pregame show. Robert Rinaldi, a longtime Jets fan. How about that? You never know until you start talking to people like the great Tom Rinaldi right there, the connections they have to the Jets.
Definitely. I mean, there's so many Jets fans. Like last week we saw Keenan Thompson was at the Jets game. So, you never know who's a low-key Jets fan.
Yeah, that's awesome. Eric Allen, Quincy Enunwa here inside the studio. You're watching Pregame Central, presented by Bud Light. Of course, as always, we're joined by Anthony Becht as well. Anthony, it's time for the scramble drill. Are you ready to get going?
Let's do it. I'm ready.
All right, cool. Which Jets offensive player could break out against the Packers?
I'm going with Garrett Wilson here. I think Garrett, to me, is a guy that's been kind of quiet since Zach's came back. No, for a particular reason. I think Zach saw the field, opened up a lot of people, but I think he's the guy to look for today.
Quincy, Aaron Rodgers was miffed with his locker room talk last week about his team's faltering overseas against the Giants. Are the Jets getting the Packers at the right time?
That's a great question. I think they're probably going to have a little bit of a hangover from flying overseas. So look for them to start off slow and the Jets to really capitalize on that.
Anthony, after Aaron Rodgers, who is the Packers' most dangerous offensive player?
Aaron Jones, shifty, quick, hard to tackle, can catch the ball, run the ball. You better have a bunch of eyeballs on him because he can wreck your day.
Yep, and they're going to test that Jets rush defense, who has to maintain their perimeter integrity. Can't let Aaron Jones get outside today. Quincy, who's going to lead the Jets in receiving yards today?
I want to say Elijah Moore. I'm hoping that this is the game that he really gets his opportunity to shine. He hasn't really had that this year, and with Garrett Wilson and Corey Davis really performing well, it's going to be up to him to kind of do his part.
Anthony, which New York football team will have a better record this season? Of course, the crosstown Giants have started 4-1 themselves.
The Bills, guys, the Bills will, but they're only one game behind the Bills, the Jets, as of today.
Oh, come on, you cheated there. I didn't say the state of New York. How about which of the two crosstown teams will have the better record?
Sticking with the Bills, man. New York.
Oh, you're something else, Beck. Okay, Quincy. Who is the second best team in the AFC East?
That's an easy answer right there. I think obviously the Bills are number one. The Jets are a close number two. They're really performing well. If they can win this game, they'll show that they're really number two team in the AFC East.
Anthony, most of the AFC East, is on the road today. How many will win? Let's go over the matchups. You got Jets at the Packers, you got the Patriots at the Browns, Vikings at Miami, and then the Bills at the Chiefs. How many AFC East teams will win today?
Two. I got the Dolphins, and I have the Pats losing today for sure. This tough one against the Chiefs, but I just think the Bills are the best team right now.
Okay, Q. How many games will the Jets take on this two-game road trip, starting with Green Bay and then following it up next week against Denver? We'll put you on the hot seat.
Oh, man, that's a hard one. I think if they win this game, I think they can win both of them. But if they lose this one, Denver has a really tough defense, and that'll be a tough test.
Anthony, will the Jets be flexed multiple times later this season and appear in more than one primetime game against the Jaguars in Week 16?
You know what? I'm going to say no, just because we need to see more, man. I want this team to continue to strive for a game-to-game opportunity to win football games. They can prove themselves worthy of that, but I think right now we still need a lot more information about this team.
Oh, back taking the cautious approach. Sounds like a head coach, doesn't he, Quincy?
Always.
There's Garrett Wilson getting warmed up. The Jets getting loose at Lambeau Field. Listen. Here's a stat for you as we watch Zach Wilson hit Tyler Conklin over the middle. Under Matt LaFleur, the Green Bay Packers are 10-0 following a loss. What says to you, Quincy?
Oh. Well, I think this one's going to be a little bit different. Like I said earlier, they're going to be flying in from London. They're going to have a little bit of a hangover. I look for the Jets to kind of start off a little bit stronger than them.
AB, why has this team played so well at Lambeau? You're talking about 15 consecutive games that they've won there at Lambeau. And technically, last week was a home game against the Giants, but they were playing at Tottenham Stadium.
I think it's one of the top three fan bases in the NFL. They're always there to support their team. It's loud. You know, the weather is a factor, although I think guys like Breece Hall thrive in weather games like this. I know it's not freezing, but 40 degrees, 30s, like that's Breece's life right there. And he really lit the standard up at the running back position in those temperatures. So a lot of positives for the Jets. But again, when you have those surroundings, Aaron Rodgers and the weapons they've had in the past, I'll go back and say this. So guys, it's a different team offensively. Yeah, they have Aaron Jones, they have Aaron Rodgers. But when you look at this offensive line, you look at some of these receivers, they have been hit or miss so far this season. Not a lot of consistency.
Zach Wilson there at Lambeau. Wilson, one of 4 players in the National Football League since Week 12 of last season who's had at least 5 rush touchdowns and 5 pass touchdowns. From now through November 8th, tell us why you or someone you know hosts the best tailgate, never misses a game, or rallies the loudest JETS chant and deserves to be a member of the Jets Fan Hall of Fame class of 2022. Submit your nomination at NewYorkJets.com/Hall of Fame. It is Week 6 action, Jets Packers at Lambeau. Braxton Berrios getting loose there. It's cold, but these guys aren't going to mind the weather. It can be a lot worse at Lambeau, you know, the frozen tundra. That field definitely is not frozen today. Okay, it is time for All In or Not Today. Here we got everybody. We have Caroline and Ethan from Green Bay. We got Anthony from Parts Unknown. We have myself and Quincy inside the studio. How's everybody feeling about where we're at? The rookie, Quincy Enunwa. 4-1.
It's just different when you played the game, Quincy, right? It's just different.
Hold on. Can I ask whoever's doing the leaderboard back there, why is Anthony in second place, but Ethan's in third place, and they have the same record?
He always falls back. He fell back early last year. He's just having a little bit of a jolt, did a little more homework, but we know how that's going to pan out for him.
I think that Beck's creating graphics.
Oh, man.
How about that? Okay, let's get this thing underway. Caroline, You're in need of a victory here. Aaron Rodgers will throw. A-Rod will throw for 2 touchdowns today, at least 2 touchdowns against the Jets. A very improved pass defense.
Once again, I'm going all in. However, Aaron Rodgers has thrown 2 or more touchdowns per game for the last 4 games, so I'm feeling kind of confident. If he doesn't, though, and I lose again, I think that's a good thing for the Jets, so I think it's a win-win either way, but I'd really like to get another win on the board.
I don't know how Caroline's basketball skills are, but if she can't make a layup, we're going to have issues here in Green Bay.
Hey, the Jets have allowed 7 touchdown passes this season through the air. But this past defense, 10th in the National Football League. Ethan, you're in 3rd place. I consider you in 2nd place because you have the same mark as AB. We got a tough one for you. The Jets will tie or win the takeaway battle today.
Yeah, it is a tough one, and I'm going to go all in because when you look at the statistics, signs do point that, 1, the Packers don't really turn the ball over. They don't really turn the ball over on either side, though. They do not have good takeaway numbers, but Aaron Rodgers doesn't throw a lot of interceptions, especially after losses at Green Bay in particular. So I'm going to go all in on this one, and to throw this in there, I've been told that my gut is scarred, so I was leaning not today, and I've been flipped to all in.
Oh, beautiful. We'll get you here in a moment for Inactives. Caroline, we'll see you on Jets Overtime, presented by SiriusXM. Anthony, the Jets running backs will combine for more rush yards than the Packers today.
Well, first, I saw the fine print on Caroline's all in or not. It said 2+ touchdowns, so I'm assuming he has to get, she says he's going to get 3. So we have to get the discrepancy on there, number 1. Number 2, hey, this is the toughest pick of all our choices today because the Jets have been 40 yards less on average than the Packers have. But you know what I'm doing? I'm going all in on the Jets today. I think the Jets are going to have more rushing yards than the Packers, maybe by 1 yard, maybe by 15. But I do believe that this run game for the Jets will be important today, and I think Breece Hall has another big game.
Woe is you, back. The Packers enter this game, as you mentioned, 11th in the NFL in rushing, nearly 135 yards a game. The Jets, conversely, 24th in the NFL in rushing, 97 yards a game. I will make an official decision. We will give you a win and a half if that comes true today. Okay? So if that happens, we will give you one.
I heard that. Say it one more time.
Yeah. No. Oh, yeah. 1.5 you get if you cash in on that. Quincy, we're going back to the receivers. Corey Davis. He's been outstanding for the Jets. 17 receptions, 299 yards, 2 touchdowns. Today, he will have a reception of 20-plus yards for a 5th consecutive game.
Yeah, so I'm going to go all in, and this is why. If you look at Corey Davis over these past few weeks, he's really been the guy that's kind of helped in that 4th quarter. He's done a good job of maintaining himself in the game, staying focused, and when the 4th quarter comes and they need a big play, that guy comes up every time. So I'm hoping that if the Packers do start off strong, that the Jets, who are a 4th quarter team, go out there and do what they need to do to make sure they rally and win the game.
Yeah, listen, Corey Davis has been outstanding for the Jets, not only in the pass game, but blocking for those running backs as well. And he's a guy on the field today who's played for both Matt LaFleur and Mike LaFleur. Formerly, of course, those two, LaFleur, the older LaFleur and Corey Davis were together, of course, in Tennessee. My all-in or not today, the Jets will come from behind in the 4th quarter to win. I'm voting not today on that. If the Jets do indeed pull off the road upset, they'll have to have a lead after 3 quarters. This is a different animal going into Green Bay and facing Aaron Rodgers on that field. I think for the Jets to capture a victory, they're going to have a lead after 3 quarters. Are we going to look at that fan vote? The Jets have an NFL high, 4 players with 200 receiving yards. That number will move to 5 today with Tyler Conklin needing just 8 yards against the Packers. The vote is in. 94% say yes. The fans looking to get off the schneid here. They don't have a victory yet this year. That's going to change today, I think. That might change on the Jets' first offensive play. Tyler Conklin, of course, a former Minnesota Vikings tight end who's played multiple times there in his career in Green Bay. Michael Carter getting warmed up on the field. As we wait for inactives, Anthony, your final thoughts.
Yeah, this is a critical game for the Jets. Look, it's no easy task to go on a road and win a football game in Green Bay for any team in the NFL right now. But when you talk about what you're trying to be, what you're trying to do and accomplish, young players, talented players that are trying to learn a winning culture, and it's all about changing the culture. This is those games where you got to raise your awareness and figure out a way to stay in it, be in the fourth quarter, and have a chance to win. This would be a great opportunity for this team today, and I'm looking forward to seeing him. I think Zach looks like he's a guy that's been patiently preparing himself for this moment. He's healthy, and I'm excited to see how he responds after going 2-0. Can he go back and say, you know what? Doesn't mean anything. Want to win today, got to play my best, protect the football, give my team a chance to win.
Good stuff, AB. We'll check in with you on Jets overtime. Let's go back to Green Bay right now. And Greens with the green jacket. A lot of green today. Give me those game day inactives.
All right, here you go, EA. Mike White, Denzel Mims, Jeremy Ruckert, Bryce Hall, Tony Adams, Jermaine Johnson, and Mike Remmers are the inactives, which means Quincy Williams is back in the lineup. Interesting note on Remmers that he's inactive, considering that the Jets called him up yesterday from the practice squad. So just something a little interesting there.
Have a good one, buddy. Okay, Quincy, time for you. Your final thoughts.
Yeah, final thoughts. I'd have to say that I think that it'll be important for the Jets to get a lot of pressure on Aaron Rodgers. You look at the last week against the Bengals, they got pressure on Joe Burrow, but they weren't able to bring him down. If they had that same type of game, it's going to be really difficult to win the game. If they can get pressure on him, make sure that he's not making these throws that he can make. He likes to move around the pocket, kind of contain him, contain the run as well. They can really come out of this game with a win.
Yeah, the Jets have a huge opportunity today to move to 4-2. It is an outstanding venue, one of the best in all of professional sports. Somebody's got to move to 4-2. We're about to find out who that's going to be. We will catch you later for Jets Overtime. Enjoy the game.